$20 billion wiped out from the crypto market, the biggest liquidation flush in the entire history of the crypto space, and Bitcoin looks like this. So in today's video, I want to talk about the altcoins because they look horrendously. But first, we're going to start with Bitcoin's market structure, which for me, because I got this question a lot, is Bitcoin topped? Because this surely looks like the Bitcoin top back in 2021. This is how people are comparing this cycle to the last one. But it is the wrong way to look at the market structure. You just go to the monthly chart and you can see back here that we had a monthly close over this first top back in April, and the next one was a close below. So for me, the line in the sand for the bull market to continue for Bitcoin would be for this candle or maybe next candle to close below the closes back in January this year, meaning below 102k. If we have a candle like this closing below this, the market structure for Bitcoin would signal that the bear market is next. We are not in that positioning right now. We only have confirmed closes above this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also 6, no matter how the price looks on the low time frame, meaning like a liquidation flush. And let's talk about what really this is, because I wasn't expecting that much leverage into the altcoin market. Now, let's go to my Twitter because I posted a lot today and I want to go over this post because people are panicking all over the place. A little summary on this major one-day bear market for crypto. Who was up last night on the charts couldn't even buy the discounts because these kind of events are not for retail, meaning you and me. This was actually for the market makers and the insiders. If you leave the noise behind from all these doomsters and bear posters that were expecting this flush to happen since 1965, these are all bullshit. Because in a scenario like this, even if you were prepared like 3 years before, how much of your portfolio would be allocated into a scenario like this? Let's take a chart, for example, the CVX chart. Maybe you thought that we'd go below these lows back in 25 and also 24. Now, these were the last lows. Maybe you prepared for something like below $1. How much of your cash position would be allocated on this? 100%? Not even 50%? Now let's think logically. Maybe you could have catch some dips for maybe 10%. I only caught this move for CVX and for CRV and for the IOTA chart with 3% of my portfolio, which were some stables. If you were online last night and you tried to buy something, you couldn't even buy it. They had errors everywhere. Some orders filled for me and some others couldn't. This was 100% known only by market makers and insiders. We, you and me, are only retail. And that is the only way to prepare for something like this. Just put some blind orders below the lows, just like a market maker would do to grab the liquidity from all the leverage plays, because how traders behave in this environment, they just put stop losses down here or down here or down here. But in a scenario like this, the market makers go and take the whole liquidity also below here. And we will check some charts later in this clip. So the bears that kept calling for a major crash like this one, if maybe you ask one of them, if the IOTA chart is going to new lows below maybe 10 cents, you could have asked them, what would the Bitcoin price be at? And they could have told you that it should be maybe below this low right here. But Bitcoin is sitting on a nice support area after losing this one, the first one, which was kind of obvious. But in this liquidation event that took $20 billion, largest liquidation event in crypto history, yeah, you could have slashed the whole support right here, just as it did. So in hindsight, as an investor, you cannot base your entire investment strategy on this kind of discount. You couldn't even fill your bags, even if you sold, let's take another chart, even if you sold Chainlink back here or maybe here to say, I bet we are going to $10. Maybe some 10% of your cash portfolio would have filled your orders, but that is it. And look at where we are right now. And remember, all that matters is positioning, because the opinions of others or maybe bearish people are not even worth the toilet paper you wipe your ass with. This is the reality. This rarely happens, and after it does, well, we should check some charts from 2020 and 2017 with some 70 to 80% wicks, just like this one on, let's see, XRP or IOTA. But just remember, anything and everything is on the table all the time. I had this idea from September 25th on Ethereum. You can see here that this first 3900-ish area for Ethereum held for short term, and then we came back into this major area of demand that I was watching for a long position. That position filled, and in my opinion we should hold this and not break through it. Then I have another post for my members. Since something like the start of October, this was a scenario also taken into consideration while the Bitcoin dominance, as we spoke also here on this channel, and if you are not subscribed, I recommend you do and binge watch all these clips because they are not a lot. Maybe in 2.5 hours you are already finished with them, and see how I'm viewing this market for positioning. And this was actually a scenario to play out because you can see this structure right here, and if I tell you just go look for a similar structure in Bitcoin's history, you cannot find one. I saw also a lot of copy paste from here. Yeah, I just drag this and put it here. It is never this easy. So the market makers will always put other patterns on the chart for the majority of people to not grasp it. And I've talked to my members that this was a possible scenario while the S&P chart is long overdue for a correction. This also can look something like this, and this is a major sign of rotation. It can look something like this, also a major sign of rotation, or it maybe goes something like this: rotation, rotation, rotation. Now, for the Bitcoin dominance chart, this is exactly what I've talked about also on this YouTube channel. From the start of September, we had a strengthening seasonality for the Bitcoin dominance, and this was actually a chart that I hope to validate something like this, because if this happens next, and you can see the rejection, the size of the rejection right here, if this should happen next, then this is inevitable next. And remember my last clip on the YouTube channel, Bitcoin and crypto in every Q4. This only strengthens my view that the Bitcoin dominance chart should look something like this after that. Now, going to some altcoin charts, I want to show you something that is very rare but happens almost every cycle. If we did a replay on the XRP chart, let's see how COVID looks like. You can see that from the top in January 2018, XRP was in a downtrend and suffered a capitulation called time-based capitulation. And here we had a price-based capitulation. Very fast, very swift, and the whole retracement was something like 70%. Even after COVID, right here in December 2020, let's see what happened in December 2020 with the Bitcoin dominance chart. December 2020. We actually went on a rip from September into December, and then this happened next. So if we want some nuggets to be found, you can see here that this drop was 74% before 1000% gains next into the half-coin season. Remember, half-coin season explained also here, Bitcoin seasonality explained also on my channel. Watch them all, maybe it helps you. Again, another week, another manipulation, 54% just before this happened next. Let's see another example on the IOTA chart, because this is also a dino coin. You can see here in the pandemic we had the COVID drop, 83% right before this happened, 4000%. Going into the 2017, you can see here this was monstrous. This was actually monstrous, and I do not want to take that into consideration. We're just gonna take this one, 80% capitulation, price-based right before 9000% gains. I'm not saying that 9000% gains are next. I'm just saying we have similar structures right here, right now. Just use the replay and you will see, just like this. If you ask someone back here, how does he feel about the price of IOTA going to 99% discount, he would 100% tell you that this is dead. And from my experience, whoever says that they wait for these capitulation events to buy with 100% their portfolio are clearly lying their asses. Nobody would fucking buy here. Only market makers. They use this price-based capitulation. They rotate the money from here into here, and then from here, if I'm correct, and this is not over, from here into here. And any bear or doom poster that told you that this was happening, bro, didn't even get the chance to buy these lows. That is not how things work in the market. You cannot base your entire strategy on a liquidation flush like this and tell me you have 100% allocated your money at the pico bottom to then sell at the pico top. There is no such thing. And you can see that these ones resolve very, very fast to the upside. And the Bitcoin dominance is telling the same story. The only thing I'm surprised, because I'm not even surprised on the Bitcoin price being here, the only thing I'm surprised about are the altcoin prices. For the CVX chart, I had some orders below $3 and a small order below this low. But again, all the orders filled did not account for more than 3% of my total allocation into the crypto market. So whoever told you that bought this with 100% their money are lying through their teeth. That is the only thing surprising for me right now, because about the others we already talked about, even if some supports were lost. We can also look at the USDT dominance chart. You can see this big wick right here. This wick means weakness. Targets remain lower. So basically for me nothing has changed. We actually are in a time window which is very interesting, because between the 10th and the 13th of October, we can see here every year we have some pivotal moments. This was a correction from the start of October into this time window. Also here, 10th and 13th of October, what happened next? Also in the bear market, 10th to 13th of October, pump next. But remember, we are not in a bear market year yet. And here we had a pump into this time window and also was prolonged, and this was a fake breakout. And this one was a bearish one, and we actually have the opposite thing right now, which I am really glad to see. My targets remain to the upside. The timing does not matter for me. Whenever the market makers would have flushed the whole leverage in the system, and it seems to me like 20 billion was pretty much the whole leverage in the system, and I had no idea that these altcoins had this much leverage into them. But if I have a time window to mention, I will consider this target right here to happen before something like January 20. Again, based on the seasonality. January 20 into the end of March is a very important seasonal window, and we should see how the prices look like before this window starts. If you don't know what I'm talking about, again, go to my channel. You also have a clip explaining the seasonality windows on Bitcoin. So for me, nothing changed. I got to grab some cheap altcoins, not a lot of them, unfortunately, because the game is rigged, and if you already entered this market, you should already know this. That's why you don't need to do leverage trading with more than 1% of your portfolio, not even if you are day trading. That is the real problem, and from what I'm seeing all over the board, this whole market structures for almost all altcoins since the bear market lows seems to be the result of leverage trading, because throughout all this road, everyone was waiting and positioning for an altcoin season, and the ones that didn't sell the top, including me, I was trapped like 70% back here, but I've waken up at the end of 2022 and I went all in into Bitcoin. But some people are degenerates, and perhaps they wanted to leverage trade to gain more coins, to gain more positions for when the altcoin season was coming, because their position to sell would mean getting back what they lost back here for not selling. This is actually just an opinion of mine, but from what I'm seeing right now, it seems like this theory is playing out so far, because why would this happen if there was not a lot of leverage in this system? And that is the only surprise I'm having right now on the altcoin prices, because I did not expect that amount of leverage into them. I would have expected that Bitcoin has a big amount of leverage, which is now also flushed, but actually on the Binance chart, for the Bitcoin chart, let's see, it went lower. Yeah, it went back to 107, and maybe on some other exchanges it went even lower. But remember, my line in the sand is this one: lose 102k, close below it on a monthly candle, and then we start talking about the bear market. Unless this happens, the opinions of others are not even worth the toilet paper we wipe our asses with. That is simply a fact. And again, if you went through XRP's history, or maybe let's see Litecoin, even on the Litecoin chart, you can see this one right here, also the pandemic. Every one of them had something like this in their past, 55% right before this happened. Also here to the upside, also here. So as time passes in the market, and while we are getting to this cycle's end, things look more clear. And again, this tells me a lot about this liquidation cascades that happened last night, in which retailers could not even buy in. Tells me a lot about what is coming next, and I'm still positioned for it, even though I got only 3% of my entire portfolio into these big black swan events on the charts. I know some of you may be panicking. You could also ask me, what if this one gets like this and just continues bleeding until 2026? Yes, this could be the case, but it's not my main case. If someone thinks that, just show me your shorts or tell me you are sidelined. Otherwise, your opinion is not worth the toilet paper I'm wiping my ass with. That's it for today, guys. Have a great weekend. Stop panicking. You just need to think in positioning, and that's it. And until next time, if you didn't watch all the clips, just do it, please. It will be more clear with what I'm seeing in the market. And if you want more updates, more into depth, I recommend you check out the gameofliquidity.com website, see the presentation, see my track record, and there we talk stuff like this. We check out scenarios, we talk about targets, upside and also downside. We go to the cycle more in depth, and we are also into stocks. Just check out the presentation, maybe try it for a month, see if you like it or not.